Welcome to Digital Dominators, the podcast that helps small business owners grow their confidence, sharpen their digital skills, and actually enjoy showing up online. I'm Sooz, your host, tech coach, and digital cheerleader, and every week I chat with brilliant experts to bring you practical tips, smart strategies, and the tools and tech to make business easier. From social media marketing to websites, content to confidence, AI to automation, we're breaking it down into simple steps you can actually use. If you're ready to make things simpler and more successful in your digital world, you're in the right place. Let's get stuck in. Hello everyone, it's Sooz here from Technology Coaching, and today I'm going to invite Kat Patterson. Hi Kat.
Hello.
To another exciting Digital Dominators session today. Kat is an internationally recognised coach and thought leader who specialises in helping individuals and organisations break through mental barriers to unlock their full potential. With a deep understanding of both human behaviour and cutting-edge technology, Kat has mastered the art of integrating AI-assisted coaching techniques. I know, sounds cool, right? To provide powerful, personalized solutions that drive success and transformation. So, in today's session, how to break through mental barriers using AI assisted coaching techniques, Kat's going to share some actionable insights into how to harness the power of AI to overcome limiting beliefs, enhance productivity, and achieve personal and professional goals. So, welcome, Kat.
Thank you.
Full round of applause happening for you. So, welcome and nice to have you on today's session. And this is a real interesting topic. When we decided to do this session together, it was like working out what the topic was, and it was AI assisted coaching techniques. And this is like, I've not heard anything like this yet so far. So, before we go into that in more detail, what I'd like to do first of all, Kat, is just you to tell me tell me and the listeners a little bit about you, your history. How did you get here? What's brought you to this point of your AI assisted coaching techniques? Give us your bio from your.
Thank you. Oh, well, what a big long. I was like a thought leader. Yeah, I'm going to own that. Yeah, I love it. So what brought me to this point? So people are my thing. As a self-confessed introvert, people are not my thing. I stay in the house a lot under a blanket, but I like to look at people under the microscope, which sounds terrible. So we're in this brave new world of AI now, so why would we not harness that capability and take coaching into the next kind of evolution? So there's going to be a real Marmite response to that. There's going to be people who are like, yes, aye, let's go for it. And there's going to be people going, oh, hold on a wee minute. It's AI, it's a robot. Why would we be interacting with a robot for coaching? And that's what excites me, because I like to turn left when everybody else is turning right. So my background is really in how I got to this point, I suppose, is I used to head up Scottish Intelligence Coordination Unit.
Okay, that's a really easy to say.
Yeah,
it's a Scottish Intelligent. What was it?
Scottish Intelligence Coordination Unit, and I was a principal analyst for that. So my team effectively, we would look at very, very bad people, serious and organised crime, the worst of serious and organised crime, in terms of, drug overlords, human trafficking, all of the really worst things. But at the heart of all of those things is people doing stuff. And when I left that world and moved into the world of business, it's still people doing amazing things. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be the highest drug kingpin, worst person on the planet, or you could be running your business, but you might still go around to your mammy's on a Thursday night for a fish tea. Right? So we've all got a little program. We've all got a little program of behavior. And that's why I moved into that world of coaching, because watching, particularly women, I work with anybody, any human being, effectively. Primarily women, I think there's lots of words that get thrown around in terms of imposter syndrome, which I've got really strong views about, lack of confidence, all of these things. And actually, see, when we understand our brain better, then we can mitigate a lot of this nonsense that we're telling ourselves, because effectively it's thought patterns, right? So my coaching is based on that, and how I came to where I'm at using AI is the system and the delivery model that allows me to do coaching at scale, and it allows me to do it even better because it doesn't forget anything. right? Because as human beings, we've got bias, and as human beings, we've got stuff that we forget, that even if it's gold dust, you're like, wish I'd said that in that conversation. AI doesn't forget, it remembers everything. So actually your wealth of information and your wealth of data and your data set just automatically becomes larger and more accessible as a result. So I've been problem solving effectively. That's how it's got me to this point. Getting AI, using it as a tool, and kind of meshing that in with the human element to keep the humanity bit inside of AI, not turn it into a robot.
There is like 3 or 4 points that I want to pull from that, Kat, but I'm really curious, first of all, about that journey that got you into coaching as well. So, yes, you worked for that word that I can't say again, but the Scottish Institute, I can't remember what it was because it's so wordy.
Yeah.
But you did that, and through there, you met lots of different types of people, all ranging, obviously, there for different reasons as well. But again, you're going back to that unique human nature, and everybody is human most of the time until we
Absolutely.
become part robots, I think. That it's our unique humanness
Yeah.
that intrigues you as part of it. So, how long have you been doing coaching, and in what format do you normally do that in?
So it's now probably 20 plus years from different roles within leadership roles, and kind of being head of service. I'm bringing on team members to probably the last 12, 13 years in my own coaching business, if you like, and working one-to-one. And that's why, one-to-one also has a glass ceiling on it. So there's lots of experience in there. And I just find when you support people through coaching, again, there's lots of popular psychology terms that float around about being the best version of ourselves. I forget all that. Just be the person that you really like, and see when you really like yourself, you do amazing things. And see when somebody holds a space for you to kind of be your cheerleader and support you, you can do things that you never thought possible. So it's that kind of latent potential that I love. I can see it in people, and even if they don't have the confidence in themselves, I love working with people to it's exponential growth. It just changes the face of things. So yeah, 20 plus years in different roles, and then the last decade, if you like, really focusing in and using it as a business tool to work with other businesses. And, whether that's the tiny, small businesses, run by one person or a small group. Also do that in the charity sector because they need a lot of support, and particularly in terms of that fundraising role that they do, there's a lot of stuff that goes along with that. Into corporate to C-suite leaders. So I've got a real broad brush, and the reason I do that is because it's people. People is the core theme. I could single into one particular industry, but the bottom line is it's person centered.
Yeah, and you mentioned previously that you work now with quite a lot of women and women leaders. Talk to me a little bit about what that experience is like and how you guide them currently without using the AI through that process to support them.
Yes. So women at the moment, and as I said, I don't mean that's to kind of rule out men, because I work with everybody, but primarily women will approach me saying, and they could be really professional, and on the face of it, they could be turning up to networking, and they could be, hosting, C-suite kind of leadership meetings and look really confident on the outside. And inside, and particularly for menopausal women, there's a lot of brain fog. There's a major shift in how your brain is actually structured, and people interpret that as lack of confidence or over emotional. And actually, that's the bit that I love working on. So a lot of women are told, oh, you're now being overly emotional, you're crying all the time, oh, you're just problematic, all of these things. And none of those things are true. And I want to break those myths. And that's what I spend a lot of time doing, working with women to neutralize that emotional bit, so that we're making great decisions for ourselves. The brain fog is reduced. We feel really confident in showing up in the role that we want to do because we're blanking brilliant at what we do. And we've already got so much criticism going on. The last thing we need is to criticise ourselves, So actually, when we work on that emotional neutrality bit of it, it goes from being the unhinged backseat driver to I'm now driving like a Formula One, like a top-notch driver. Why would we not
Which
do that?
there was a female Formula One driver last year, which is,
Yes,
again, just doing this
groundbreaking.
whole groundbreaking stuff.
But isn't it shocking that it's groundbreaking and it's 2025?
5 now, yeah. So, yeah, interesting, isn't it?
More of that. So more of that, and
hmm
women really not leaving the workplace because they've hit a certain age or stuff happens to them, or they're in that bit in life where they're either caring for elderly people, looking after themselves, or caring for young people. Actually, you can do all of that if you understand how your brain is processing and how it's wired.
Yeah, so I suppose then what I'm getting from you there is that you spend a lot of time really drilling into what that looks like for that individual, but I assume that comes with specific almost ways that it's similar. There's similar things that every individual has. And so then you can use that data set, and that's a data set that you can then work from and manage. Is that right? Is that what I'm thinking? Maybe a little
Yeah,
bit?
so yeah, you're absolutely right. So if you think about it, universal problems, right? But individual experiences.
Okay.
So how we would both experience the same thing, we would have our own individual perspective on it. But so let's use menopause just as, because I've mentioned it already. Menopause is a thing a lot of women go through. Everybody's experience is completely different of that. So how we then show up is different. So the coaching that I do is, yes, we understand there's a universal thing, a problem. How I do it bespokely is at an individual level and what works for you, because neurodivergence might come into it, or you mentioned productivity in the introduction. Some people are like, goal setting, I'm not setting any goals, can't be bothered doing that. Other people are like, give me a goal, let me break it down, I'm going to have a master plan and lay it all out. But if we only approach one of those as our methodology, then we're missing a whole load of people who are then thinking, am I doing it wrong? You're not doing it wrong, you're doing it based on who you are and what you need to make it work for you. So universal problems, but individual perspectives.
I like that. So universal problems, individual perspectives. So then when it comes to using AI, we feed it data, as we know, right? So we give it data, we give it as our information. So then it uses that information and its other information that it's got in its history to then come up with a response or a caption or a language or whatever it is that you're asking it to produce for you. So when it comes into your coaching, how's that work? How does that work? Talk to me about how this AI coaching approach, because how is it methodological, if that's the right word to use, individual at that same time? I'm curious
Yeah.
about that.
So actually what I do is, and this is the thing, so I've got a real fear about, as I said at the beginning, I'm loving where AI is going, but I also have a real fear around protection of data and, keeping things in a container and using it ethically, because coaching is all about being ethical as well, and signposting and really supporting people. So the AI that I use is not going to the internet for random information. So you and I both know that language models are only trained up to 2023, just for talking's sake. Yes,
It's now live. It's now like
so I
fully
was
up
going
to
to come on to
date.
that.
Sorry.
So the data set, no, I was going to say that. So the data sets traditionally were trained up to, so let's use ChatGPT. It was up to some point in 2023. Now they've got access to the web. Now, there's a lot of nonsense on the web, and there's a lot of more nonsense being added to the web as people are using AI to generate more stuff that they haven't fact checked that's now on the web, right? So let me start from that really complex, messy point. What I do is, and this is the critical bit of it, is I corner it off into my own signature methodology. So what I've done is I've built knowledge documents. So knowledge documents that looks at what does subconscious level of identity look like and how do I coach on that? What are the emotional? So there's a Plutchik's wheel of emotions. How do we use that in terms of the analysis? So if you think about it, what I would normally do is you would submit me your journal entries. I would have sat manually last year, pre-AI, gone through every single word, every single structure of how you've described your world or described your week, and then plotted that manually alongside what those emotions look like and what those words are describing in the world, so that I get a sense of where your head's at. Right now, I can get AI to do that process bit, and that's why at the very beginning of this is AI is the engine that deciphers the patterns, but the coach is the compass that kind of does the transformation bit. So what I don't want to advocate is people, and I've seen this already, people going on to AI and going, could you be my life coach? I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't do that, because you're basically going on to Google and saying, I am anxious, tell me how not to be anxious. That's effectively what you're doing. So AI is really powerful, but it's about using it to discover patterns in the language that we're using, rather than using ChatGPT willy-nilly to tell me how to run my life, because that's a kind of dangerous thing to do. It sounds a bit fun, but and it's that ethical bit for me. So I realise I sound like a bit of a party pooper,
Hey,
but
look,
actually
the
it's so
ethical
important.
and the legal stuff is so important, and it's missed by so many business owners and individuals, but it's also not put as a importance by the tech companies as well. It's not at the forefront, if
Of
that makes
course,
sense. So there's part of that with as well, and that's part of what I teach as well, is the ethical and legal aspects, and it's all based around the data. And you're so right
yeah,
there around the data that's already online is already biased and it's already out of date because it's already happened. And the challenge that we have being in a smaller country like Scotland is that we already have a digital environment that's already behind before the AI revolution came in to play. We already have a lack of effective and correct visibility through what is Scotland in the online space. It's heavily biased, it's heavily manipulated by the concept and the complicated structure that is the UK and the
yeah,
history that's surrounded by it. We've also have a huge lack of knowledge within the society that's here. And we're now getting tools that have got AI built into it. And the advertising that's going on to the television, which they're watching, and the media is do these things, like ask it to be your personal coach or your personal therapist, and it's going to be built into, and then for those of you that are listening, I'm holding up my phone, built into the phone, where you're just asking in the same way you would ask Alexa or ask Siri. You're asking
yeah.
with the Apple Intelligence on the iPhones, and ChatGPT now going to be built into that with the iPhone 16 is there.
Terrifying.
It's just we're going to see more and more and more and more of this. The Galaxy's already doing it
Yeah,
with Gemini. We're going to see it through Copilot. I'm hearing it from my corporate clients that their staff are like, oh, Copilot's coming up and I don't really know how to manage this or affect it. So
yeah.
we've got no escape from AI taking our lives, right? But it's not that. It's enhancing the things
As
that we do, and it's finding those
yeah,
patterns, that repetition that you mentioned there, and those repetitive words that sounds like with the coaching that you're doing with people as well.
yeah.
So I think
But
it's super
that's
important that you address
it
that
is.
there.
Yeah, and that I think that's what's also setting me apart, Sooz, actually, is the I'm not galloping at pace at this. I'm doing the how do we do this from an ethical humanity start point, not thinking about that later, because we already know, in coaching, I've got, people that approach me and say, okay, Kat, you work with primarily women. If I am male or, you know, different gender, whatever, would you work with me? I'm like, absolutely, because you're a person. Can the AI cope with that? Yes, if I build the knowledge document to ensure that ethnicity, race, neurodivergence, and everything, so that there's no bias. And actually, that's about, even removing the coaching bias, because ultimately I'm a person, so I've got my own view of the world, how I've been brought up through nature and nurture. So even if I intentionally try and remove my bias, of course I'm still going to have a bias. So actually, if we bake that in at the front end rather than thinking about it when it's too late, we won't have people, let me be your life coach in AI. And I get it, because artists feel the same, lawyers, solicitors feel the exact same, because it's coming from a place of, it's not that you're going to steal my work, but it's coming from a place most of the time for care of human beings, going, I really hope that this doesn't go awry, So, at the moment, the kind of trend that I'm seeing is go into AI and ask it to roast you like it's a drunk girl, right?
Yeah.
But which is funny, right? It's really, some of them are hilarious. But you've just fed the data set, and then people will say, "But how does it know about me?" I'm like, "Because you fed it the data."
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? It's
Mm-hmm.
like the quizzes on that used to go around Facebook before the kind of Cambridge Analytica thing. How does it know my mother's surname, and why has my bank account just been
Mm.
compromised? because you fed it the data. So I think just to be really mindful about that, and I get that I'm sounding again a bit doom and gloom, but actually these are tools that are going to enhance everything, but just be a bit mindful and intentional about how we use them. And I hope that I'm baking that in. And will I get it right 100% of the time? No.
No, because
But
there's no
will I
such
be
thing
open
as
and
right. There's
transparent?
only progress, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I think it's a really powerful tool to be able to start to tackle some of those mental barriers, in terms of that confidence, in terms of that subconscious thought, in terms of those emotional patterns, because we can look at the data and look for the patterns. Whereas traditionally, people would say, I'll just scribble in my journal. I'm like, well, that's brilliant, and it gets it out, but actually, what's it telling you, and can you see the patterns? Actually, now we can see the patterns.
as a creator, I used to spend hours re-recording voiceovers to get the perfect tone. But finding reliable voice talent, booking studio time, and editing takes forever, and it can break the bank. That's why I recommend 11 Labs. It generates ultra-realistic AI voices and even clones your own, all in seconds. With natural-sounding speech, multilingual support, and seamless text-to-speech conversion, 11 Labs powers podcasts, audiobooks, training modules, and more. No mic required. Ready to level up your audio? Try it free today at allmylink.me/TC11labs and bring your scripts to life with 11 Labs. And that's great because you mentioned at the beginning there that because the AI will remember, it can refer back to the previous information that you've shared with it previously. And so it can refer
Yeah,
back to that and remind you, like, hang on, you've changed that thought, have you? Or you've done
yeah,
that
yes,
before. Yeah, and that's
yeah.
what I quite like
And
about it too.
that's the thing, for me, coaching is about that little and often. It's not the huge leaps that people take. You don't say, oh, I'm lacking in confidence one day and then show up 100% confident. That's a kind of ebb and flow. But you're right, those patterns over time, it's like, look what you did 10 weeks ago, and you think, oh, wow, you're absolutely right, that's changed. Whereas we wouldn't normally see that progress. How many times have we got to a year end and we've looked back and people say, what have you done? Oh, not much, or it's been a bit rotten. But actually, we've forgotten all the amazing, great things. Now, AI is able to go, hello, remember this amazing thing and how joyous you felt? Maybe you should anchor into that instead. So, that for me is really powerful because it remembers. And I don't have to remember for it.
With everything else that's going on, it gives
With
you
everything
that
else.
time to speak directly to that human that you're speaking to with
Yeah.
the AI at that time as well. And I want to go back to what you were talking about just at that introduction there as well, where you brushed on the fact of where you want to focus on the human aspect and the human aspect of AI. Because I'll share what I talk about and then you can share what you think about it if that's helpful. So, we need to have our essential skills so that we can understand our human skills to effectively communicate with the technology tools effectively, right? To talk to the technology. So, we need to know how to talk to the AI effectively, treat it like a human, teach it what it needs to know. It doesn't know anything. You need to teach it what it is that you need to know. You need to train it. You need to engineer what you want it to be able to communicate back to you through the data that you give it, the information that you give it. But it doesn't take away from your human uniqueness, right? Your authentic humanness. We have to understand the tools, how the tool works, understand our human essential skills, and then it's those combination together that makes it that kind of mindset that has that kind of mindset around it. So it's our humanness that makes the AI work better. What do you think about it? That's how I kind of talk about it.
Yeah. So I completely agree because I describe AI as it's the best apprentice and researcher you could ever have. I think the problem has been, a problem's maybe too strong a word, but the issue or, the thought process so far has been, this is a brand new tool, it must know everything, and people treating it like it's already the researcher that's came straight out and has all the data. And I think that's the confusing bit for people, but actually no, when it works really well for it, it's because you've trained it. So it's like getting the new employee in and doing the whole induction process, which takes time and a bit of effort, but by goodness, it's worth that input and investment of time into this tool or person, whatever, and what you get back is phenomenal. But you have to put in the effort. It's not just that, oh, I've opened up, there's a chat box, give me everything you know about quantum physics. I mean, it's going to know some of that from drawing from the internet, but again, it'll be biased. So actually, I totally agree. It's like take the time and the effort to train it, to teach it, to let it become its most amazing apprentice and research assistant, and then use it for what you need it to use it for, rather than assuming it's came brand new out the box, ready to go.
So, how do you think that people can learn how to use AI properly if they are going to get a device right off the bat, out the box, as you said there, that has got AI built into it? How do you help? What do you think they can do to learn how to use it better?
I think it's an interesting question. I think part of me wants just people to play with it. So play with it, just actually put in stuff, see what comes out. If you're really talking about it, how to deep dive into it, go to people like yourself who actually understand what AI is as a tool and a resource to use. So I think there's two ends of that spectrum. There's the playing aspect, and then there's the right, okay, I really need to be sensible and again have all the kind of ethical considerations. So I'm going to do that professionally. But I think the middle bit of it isn't actually the AI. It's about going in with the intention of having critical skills in the first place. In terms of this might not know everything, and I might get flawed answers, and I might get flawed, dodgy data. So can I apply a bit of critical thinking whilst I'm playing and discovering? So it's less about the AI, and then it's back to that human element of having the critical discerning skills in the first place. So then we can see if it's real or not.
And if it works specifically for that person as well. Because thank you for that, because it is true. What I find is that when we're delivering our AI training, is that through our prompt engineering that we teach as part of it, we'll get everybody to use this one paragraph almost that they copy and paste, and we call it a basic prompt into ChatGPT that we start off with in their engineering. And depending if they've adapted it or not, as they've put it into their own ChatGPT, they'll get different answers. And they'll also get different answers depending on the history, if they've used ChatGPT before or not, or if they're just brand new to ChatGPT as well, even though they're using the same prompt.
Same prompt.
So there's something in that of where the right data, the right information that you're sharing it, even though you're giving it the task, the prompt that you want it to be able to produce, it will provide a different answer. It'll also
Absolutely.
provide a different answer depending if you're paying for the tool or if you're not paying for the tool, or which version of that tool that you're using and the data that it's
Yeah.
got. So there's this, again, human aspect of the AI, which isn't really
Yeah.
human, but it is based upon your usage of the tool. All right?
Yeah.
That's how I think of it
Totally.
that way as well.
But yeah, but it's getting back to that discernment, isn't it? And understanding. So people will say to me, okay, you're building an AI model to do coaching. Oh, what are you using? And I'm like, well, there's probably about 15 tools
Mm-hmm.
because they don't all do the one thing. We know that Perplexity is maybe more on that research front and maybe more used to that. Claude is got a different tone and a more friendly tone and can now write the code as your. So I use a variety of different tools because I'm not just sitting down and going, into one language model and asking for a response. So again, I think the biggest thing for people going into AI, back to the humanness, back to critical thinking skills, get that bit right, and then everything else becomes more obvious, I think,
Yeah,
and more
it's our
useful.
unique, it's our human essential skills that I talk about. It's our uniqueness, our human skills. It's our communication, collaboration, teamwork. It's our integrity. It's our problem solving, that critical thinking. It's that analytical. It's the attention to detail. Those competencies almost that you would think of as a key skill for a career, a key skill for a role. Those are the things that we need to enhance. And they can only be enhanced through working with other human beings. So even though we're using the
Totally.
technology, these essential skills only work with other humans. it's very difficult to learn how to communicate effectively in different environments without actually communicating. And you have to provide
Absolutely.
spaces to do that and
Yeah,
environments to do that in. It's just one
yeah, I
example.
totally agree. And I think as well, the messages that we've been getting, particularly through media, is, the first message was AI is going to take your job. Panic. Second message that, excuse me, has come out is, no, it won't take your job, but somebody who can use AI will take your job. Right, so that's message number two. I would hint at a third message is, the person who applies the humanity and the humanness to the AI is absolutely going to rock it, because as we move more into AI, because do you know what, folks, the genie's out the bottle. You can be sitting judging, thinking, I don't want any part of this. That's
Hmm.
like saying you're never going to access the internet. This genie is out the bottle. So I would say, get on board with it and get as comfortable as you can with it, because it's not going anywhere. But actually, maybe the driving thing is, can we retain the human element and see AI as the tool rather than the replacement for that?
That's right.
And I get that that might be a big lofty goal and people will poo-poo me for it, but that's my guiding principles for it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on those as well, Kat, where it's not just about learning the skills, it's about enhancing our unique humanness, enhancing our essential skills as part of it, learning the technology, and the technology is a tool. It's a tool to enhance your life. It's not to replace the aspects of your life. So when the jobs are being, the AI is going to replace our jobs, it's actually going to create the same amount of jobs,
Amazing
because it's
jobs.
going to create different types of careers and different opportunities. So we do, yes, all of the AI is going to be built into our technologies that we can't live without, our phone or computers. It's going to be built into the technology that we currently use. We still need to address the skills gap that was there previously to now this really fast, even faster evolution of technology, and how that's going to approach into how people are doing things on a day by day basis. And we've just got to keep working out what's happening next with it and what's happening next with it as well, because it's constantly evolving and changing and adapting at all stages as well. But I want to talk a bit more about your tool, if that's all right. Now, I
Okay.
know it's not out there and you're in creation stage with it as well. So what can you tell me about what that journey is going to look like for your tool so far? Has it got a name to start off with? Not yet. Has it got,
Well,
like, tell me a bit more.
it's probably not got a specific name yet because I'm in that. So I've been testing it for a year, actually. So it does exist. It doesn't exist in the world,
Yes.
out in the public, but it exists, and I've been testing it with clients over the last year. So my coaching, which is my prosperity program. So at the moment it's called prosperity because it just makes it easy.
Hmm.
I've been testing, okay, what does the cat's manual version look like when I'm doing that analysis versus the AI version? And I've now got it to a point where people can't tell the difference.
That's amazing.
But that's been a year testing
Okay.
that. So now where I'm at is in really quite exciting conversations about where that goes. So I've recently joined an accelerator specifically to start to unpack that. So, tear it apart using the business model canvas, starting to look at the SWOT analysis, starting to kind of look at all the messaging around what is it doing differently. So I'm a big believer in that blue ocean strategy. So if you know anything about blue ocean strategy, it's like, don't kind of try and compete like with like, where you're in a kind of shark infested bloody waters. What you do is, as I've said at the beginning, you turn left when everybody else is turning right. So how can I take my model and make it accessible for people, where it incorporates all the ideas around what we're currently biased about and actually mitigate a lot of that, and then make it accessible for people. So coaching can be really inaccessible, whether it's because of the investment cost, um, or the attendance to show up on a Zoom call or an in person. And I'm slowly removing all of that, just as another alternative, so that it's available and the transformation is still available for people at an easier to access price point, rather than the manual bit of the transformation, which takes time and energy, and you've got to show up on Zoom and all the things. Actually, how good would it be just to be able to interact effectively currently with me and my signature methodology without even having to speak to me? So that's what I've been testing for a year. Now what I'm interested in is, where do I go with that? It could go into corporate C-suites, and I've had a few conversations around how that would work in terms of ongoing accountability. I've had fellow coaches saying, when that's ready to white label, I want access and I'll buy it to use with my own clients because it's another tool for them to be able to use. And also, can we build it into cultures of organisations effectively so that, because we all know that statistically people leave managers, they don't leave organisations, right? Because in controversial statement incoming, there's a lot of managers and leaders who end up in those positions because it was their turn, not because they were necessarily skilled up. And also, the organisation problem is some people get into those positions and then they're not supported in terms of those different skills and strengths that are needed for leadership. So you've now got a person who's responsible for managing a team without any of those skills, and it's an appraisal and it's well, you're not doing well enough, you're rubbish and let's get rid of you. And people are going, this is nonsense, I'm going to go and work for this organisation over here. But actually, if we had coaching in at the heart of that as a psychologically safe space and tool to explore some of that, to actually, if people are already brilliant at things, why would we not make them better at those things rather than criticising them for the things that they're not doing? And if we can bake that into the culture of organisations, people will just feel better.
Imagine if you could, it could be built in. I'm just thinking out loud as you were talking there, but like that your tool.
I'm going to take my pen and keep these notes in case you
Right, so no, when you
stealing.
are when you're in your office and you're writing an email, and the AI tool that's built into your operating system is reading what it is that you're writing and going, Sooz, hang on, that's not a nice way to talk. That's not normally how you would mention these things. Yes, that previous correspondence was a little bit not how you wanted it. The best way to approach it might be something like this. And it's unique to me because it understands me, my background, my history, and I've just done something by responding back to an immediate. No, it was blah 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 on this email in the heat of that corporate sphere environment,
Yeah.
which I fully understand.
Yeah.
Partly why I don't work in it anymore.
Yeah.
So it'd be amazing, that type of thing, to kind of give you a step back,
Yeah.
really pop up on the screen and just kind of give you that like awareness of, right, hang on, are you really in your best self? Are you in your best place right now?
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. And I've also built another tool that does something like that, where it takes, so there's 8 psychological brain triggers when we're actually in the form of communication, that we can have a better conversation or a better communication with other people. And I actually use that tool for exactly that reason. Okay, I need to give a kinder response. Cat in the moment version, feisty redhead is like, finger, point a finger out. Actually, that's not going to be useful for MD. So I use my own built tool, and I've had other people test it as well for exactly that. Could you soften that? Could you include these 8 brain triggers that actually everybody gets a bit of a more mindful and intentional communication? And actually, what's really interesting is the byproduct of that is, even though that's the tool doing that, you actually learn, because it's teaching you, you've said this, but this would be better. And you think, so actually over time, I've found that I've started to soften or change how I communicate, because I'm thinking, oh, I know what it's going to tell me to do now. So you learn. So it's a really interesting byproduct, but it's exactly that. But
That's
yeah, I would
interesting
love to
because
bake that in.
you're then learning from the tool that's learning from you, and it's
Yeah,
this cross, like infinity
yeah,
style, like
yeah,
learning, then bringing
yeah,
in you being the human to kind of coach that on both of those
yeah,
sides almost, or to tweak it.
absolutely. Yeah,
Have you come
absolutely.
into any challenges of where the AI hasn't effectively produced the right information with your
Yeah,
clients that you've got?
yeah,
I know it's still in that testing stage, and as is AI anyway. It's not, nothing is 100% correct, as we talked
yeah.
about.
Yeah, and
But
that's been the year of testing. Is, when I first started it, it was just nonsense. It was not. It was popular psychology stuff getting spat back at me, and it used to just, for every challenge that everybody had, and you think about it, we're human beings. We've got quite a lot of stuff, serious stuff that happens in our life, and it would just be like, sit and do mindfulness. I'm like, do you know what? I'm a big believer in that, but that is not going to sort that when you're in 20 grand's worth of debt, right? So for the beginning, it just kept referring everybody to go and do mindfulness, and I was like, no, that's not okay. That's a really useful tool sometimes, but it's not a kind of catch-all. So at the very beginning, it was just nonsense. But that was my experience as well. I'm thinking, right, okay, so let's build the knowledge documents.
Do you know, but if that's a human, the human would probably say the exact same thing to start off with, just go and be a bit mindful,
Well, yeah,
but without
exactly.
knowing enough of the information to kind of actually adapt it
Yeah,
from that way.
and
That's
that's my
the
issue.
training of that
Yeah.
AI, isn't it? To make sure
It is.
it provides that right information.
But that's what was coming from that large body of, like, I'm like, God, there's no context. It's just like, it was almost like go and have a cup of tea. You're just like, no, you can't. Just no, that's not going to work. That's not the coaching that I do. I do quite deep dive, shadow crunchy, exposing type coaching. So I thought that doesn't even replicate anything about what I would do. And it's not actually useful. It's useful in some instances, but pretty much not. But that was my learning over the last, and it's just over a year now, I'm thinking about it, training that model to go, okay, so what's my signature methodology and how can I bake that in so that it's undeniably, it's not my bias about what CATS coaching is. It's based on all the tools and all the psychology, that I've learned and studied and all the neuroscience and everything else. How do we bake all that in so that it's pulling from all of that and understanding the person over a period of time? And you're right, as it understands, it's like a 12-week thing that I usually take clients through, and then there's a break and then they'll maybe start again. But in that 12 weeks, that pattern shifts because, I'm learning who they are, they're learning who they are, and it'll ebb and flow. So yeah, it was nonsense at the beginning, but it's pretty good, even slightly biased. I know I've created it, but it's pretty good. And I've tested it on people who are pretty hard critics, and they've come back going, wow. And I'm like, that's what I needed. I needed the wow in order to know that I'm going in the right direction. So it could go somewhere, Sooz, or it might just be a tool that I keep for myself. And do you know what? It solves a problem for me and my clients.
I mean, what's encouraging already is the fact that you've got other coaches asking for it to be white labeled, and
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you're on, it's two accelerators that you're on now, right?
No. So I'm part of the Tech Scaler
Okay,
just
great,
community.
brilliant.
Now I've
On
just secured
accelerator,
a
her,
place and it starts tomorrow,
brilliant.
which is the 10th of January. That accelerator focused on female founders effectively in tech. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you'll have a really good time with that
Yeah,
as well. So
yeah,
that's good.
really.
So we'll be looking forward to seeing what's going to happen at the end of that for you.
Yeah, and I think you've got to go into these things with a really open mind and curious. This is going to get pulled apart and scrutinised, and I love that because you can't get, I'm not precious about it. I'm like, if it can get better, why would we not make it better?
I think that's where your skills can help with that and also help the other people that are on that space as well. But
Mm.
your skills of understanding how to approach change the mindset around when you take a step into doing something like an accelerator program or looking towards an investment for your business or looking for a new job, even if you're looking for, it's about understanding the skills that you've got to make that change in your mind so that you can take the actions that are going to be right for you,
Absolutely.
in that way as well. And so is that something that the tool that you're building will do as well, is be able to give responses to those trigger points that are going to, or raise awareness to it
Yeah,
in that sort of way as well?
yeah, because it pulls out those, and that's the thing. We don't know what we don't know. So there's a great quote that I always use, and it's a Carl Jung quote, and it's, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate.
Mm.
Because if we use the example of people smoking, we know all the media is around and all the packaging is around. Smoking will kill you. Every smoker knows at some point this could kill me. Have they stopped smoking as a result of that message? No, because it's at the subconscious level of identity that they need to make a decision about, I am no longer a smoker. I am no longer somebody that wants to use nicotine as a drug. That's the shift. But you can't get to that shift until you get to the stuff that you can't see. So the tool that I've got is it brings out all those behaviors. So again, another example, you know, there's a lot of, I've got friends who've done this, I've got colleagues, peers who've said this, oh, effectively I've been dating the same man, even though it's different men, for the last 10 years, and I keep attracting a person that doesn't treat me very well. That's sometimes because we're attracting and we're looking for a particular thing, and we need to take ownership of, I mean, some people are just, partners are just not nice to other people, but actually what is it in us that's attracting that or seeing that or, enabling that and enabling it, and that's a hard position. I realise that's controversial because people are like, I never enabled it. I never actually you're looking for it without knowing that you're looking for it. So the tool that I'm building bubbles up to the surface all that unconscious stuff. So then you go, that's why I keep repeating the same behaviour and getting the same result. Yeah,
So is the
that's the
goal of,
tweak.
like, it sounds like one of the goals of the tool is to really help you be better quicker.
Yes.
So there's a bit of speed aspect to
Yeah.
it as well, and having a more continuous check-in almost
It's
with how
about
you're feeling.
consistency.
Consistency, yeah, okay, good. That's the
Yeah,
better
so it's
word to
week.
use.
Yeah, but no, but it is that, and I hadn't really considered that it is allows you to go faster, but it does because it's
Yeah.
consistent. It doesn't forget. It spots your patterns, and it's going. Do you know what? See, last week you've said the same thing. See, 3 weeks ago you said the same thing, and it's like, oh, now the coach could say that to you. I could sit face to face with you and say, you know what, Susie, you said that 3 weeks ago, and you would go, yeah, whatever. But there's something that interesting that happens when there's data to prove it, and it's science backed and it's evidence based, where you go, oh,
And that tool
actually.
can visibly show it to them right on their phone or their computer screen, whatever.
And there's something
Yeah.
interestingly under, because then it's not about, oh, well, you're remembering that conversation differently. It's like, there's the data. You've said that in a different form and you're still looking for a different result, but you're doing the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that. I think when people can see it, they believe it.
yeah,
I'm very much a
absolutely.
see it to be it type of
Yeah,
person. Is that, and that's why they need to have females in industry. They need to be females in the tech industry, females
totally.
in digital, females in STEAM, as I say, because that's how we're going to make changes in the world.
Yeah.
That's how the world is going to change. Is we have an unbiased and we have a approach that accommodates everyone and anyone in that sense.
And you'll know that from the digital side,
Hmm.
and forgive me for sweeping generalizations, but you'll know that in terms of it'll be predominantly biased because it's usually a very male dominated
Yeah, there's
environment.
still, I think in Scotland, we're still under 30% of female in tech. Under 30%. I think it's like 26. I think, can't remember. I read it recently as in a couple of months. So I need to go and look that up. But it is still very, very, very small. And I've always said that I felt like I need a lightsaber in a sword fight is what it feels like. And I am constantly having to go and do better, above and beyond, all of that stuff to quantify and justify myself of where it is that I am and how it is that I've got to where it is that I
Absolutely.
am and my experience and background in that way as well.
And that's the thing. It's now is the time because it's not really about that. We experience that kind of in a very basic sense, male female division. But also, we need the other perspectives. We
Yeah.
need other perspectives because, and I've had the question to me, oh, Kat, well, I can just build you the AI bot to do what you're doing. And I'm like, that's not what I'm asking you to do. Because if the stereotypical tech is going to build that, yeah, you can get something that will answer you. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for transformation. So everybody's voice with that subject matter expert, regardless of race or gender or any of those, that bring those voices, those different perspectives to the table, because that's where it's going to up level,
Yeah.
is where everybody has a contribution and everybody gives a different perspective to it.
I agree. And I think if we step away from what people understand as their opinion on the social media platforms and the way that they communicate in a very biased and a very judgmental way sometimes because it's not in person to that person. They're not physically standing in front of that person saying those things. They're doing it through a computer device in a small little box that they can type in that's then sent via the internet to
Yeah,
that other human being that they then read, again, a human skill of writing, a human skill of reading, that then takes it and have a huge impact on their mental and physical well-being.
I mean, it's huge.
And
The
the
impact on
consequences of that is massive.
the consequences are just terrible. Actually, they could be devastating for people. So actually, how do we get ahead of that and
Yeah.
start undoing some of that and baking that in on the front end?
And I think that's where this humanness is, where we always need to remember that. And I love that that's one of the first things that you said as well. And that's what your focus is around, that kind of ethical, legal, that kind of real human responsiveness with this tool, this AI coach almost. Because actually, some people think of AI as just a coaching tool in some way, that it's just going to help you with your day-to-day life or your day-to-day actions or your work, or but that's the language model. That's the
Yeah,
language learning model.
yeah.
So I'm really, really interested and fascinated with what it is that you're going to be producing. And I'm excited to see it as well,
So much.
when it's going to come out as well. But I think you've got a good thing going with the year's worth of data that you've got from it working.
Yeah, it was important to build that. I couldn't have, I mean, and everybody thinks, oh, you've just thought that up and you're using ChatGPT. I'm like, no, no. Yes, could you do it that way? Of course you could. Am I going to advocate that? Absolutely not. So no, I'm well known as a snail, not, or a tortoise, I should say, rather than a hare. So I'm going to take my time, build the data, test the data, keep testing the data.
I mean, well, the data currently is 70% of all AI projects fail. So the fact that you're taking your time is testament to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the events that I've been to over the last 3 years, especially in the learning technology space, is that there's a new multiple AI tools getting launched daily almost,
Yeah,
but some that are not available in a year's later, in
yeah,
a year after that. Even the tool that I use to run these sessions doesn't work now, doesn't work a year
yeah,
later.
yeah.
And
So
that
so on
was
that,
a six
yeah,
months of investment for that, and it
I know,
doesn't
and I was
work
going to
anymore.
say anything with AI in it. Top tip, folks, don't sign up for the yearly thing.
No, no,
Do it on a
no.
month by month basis
Yeah, see how it
until you
works.
know.
And I'm like that with any tool, is that you've got to test the tool first
Yeah,
to see if it's going to work. And you don't run your business around the tool. You make the tools work for what your business is. Because
exactly
that
that.
tool was created to work for that one person's individual. That's why they created the
Correct.
tool in their
Yeah,
business. So if you're then going to use that tool and that functionality of that tool, then you're basically modeling it to function in that way,
yeah,
which is why you need a tech stack for it to work effectively in
absolutely.
that
It's
sort of way
mitigate
too.
the risk. Mitigate the
Yes.
risk, people.
Yes, I know, I know. I can chat to you forever and ever about this stuff as well. But what I want to leave off today is just maybe three top tips that you've got for people when it comes to them feeling those mental barriers that they may have, and what kind of ways that they can use coaching techniques to kind of break through those. If there's any tips that you can share with them, and then maybe how that's reflected in your new AI tool that you're going to think
Yeah,
about. Maybe if there's correlation there or something like that, you can share that with our listeners.
yeah. So I would say, so first tip would be, yeah, whilst I've sounded like the Grim Reaper about not putting your data into AI, actually, explore it, play with it, use it, but go into the settings, and really practical, but go into the settings and remove the training on your data just so that it keeps it to yourself, and have a play with it. Look at, don't give it too much really personal information, but maybe use ChatGPT to look at how could my work be more productive this week. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you could actually say, here are the things that I need to get through next week. Could you give me, and here's the times that I'm available. Could you build me out a way to get through that, to get through my to-do list? So that's a really general thing that you're not kind of relying on it to coach you through therapy or counselling or any of those things. So I would say that's the first one. The second thing is, I suppose, just explore anything. There's lots of, even as you mentioned, Sooz, there's lots of apps now that are building AI into it. So again, I'm all for the testing element of it. So there's an app I was actually looking at earlier called Liven.
Mm.
And it's around the kind of similar things about that kind of mental health and well-being. Would I say go and give it all my data? Probably not. But again, just start to play and be aware of what's out there. And the third thing is just get on board, folks, with the fact that the genie's out the bottle. And just, even if you're not ready to play with it or understand AI or any of those things in terms of whatever you do for your personal development, just stay aware, just listen, just be curious and be open to the fact that anything is possible, including my AI tool when it becomes out into the public. But genuinely just stay curious about it. I think, because I think things are going to take off. They're feeling like they're moving at a tremendous rate as already, but exercise a little bit of caution.
That's right. Use your human skills,
Yeah,
as you mentioned, Use your human skills to work with the technology
because
in a way that's right for you.
Because rather than then relying on AI, how does it solve my confidence issues? Actually, the irony is if you remain curious and have a play, that's how you build your confidence.
I love that. Kat, thank you so much. How can people find you? Where's the best place for people to contact you to learn more about this? Where can we find and connect with you?
So I am largely on Instagram as Patterson STG, or you can find me on my website at patterson.com. And if you wanted a self-coaching journal, I've got a kind of 43-page self-coaching journal that allows you to start to look at some of those mental barriers and some of those exercises. And there's a lovely free tool, and then there's a little bonus. If you join my newsletter, get the journal, and then there's 9 mental models in there as well that allows you to start kind of looking at your confidence and looking at how you're showing up, and start to looking at your self-worth and your self-esteem and everything else, and start to build so that you've got really solid foundations. So feel free to go and have a look at that.
I'll be going and having an explore, Kat. Thank you so much. And for everyone that's listening, go and check out Kat's website at katpatterson.com. Sign up to her newsletter and get into those pillars. Make the changes. Look at it and find out when she's got her coaching AI tool out as well. So thank you so much, Kat. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you today, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Digital Dominators. I hope today's episode gave you something practical, or at least a bit of a boost to keep things going in this mad digital world. If you're enjoying the podcast, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up. There's loads more good stuff on the way and some brilliant guests lined up too. And if you fancy going a bit deeper, come and join the Digital Dominators community. It's totally free, and it's where I share bonus trainings, podcast extras, and tools to help you build confidence with your digital skills. You'll also get access to my social media prompt calendar, so you can finally stop staring at that blank screen wondering what to post. Just head to technologycoachingonline.com/digital-dominators to get started. Alright, that's it from me just now. Stay curious, keep showing up, and I'll catch you in the next one.